fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rid of the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up top!
Oh my god! Oh! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, here we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
It's a close track. It's a very secluded track. It is a track which, for many people, when they come and race here, they know that they are going to be nose to tail. It's a track which many people find has many characteristics to that of the Australian street circuit scene. But we're here at a race circuit. We're here in Japan. We are here at Okayama, the former circuit TI Ada, for brilliant racing here for your Monday night with SimSpeed TV on the iRacing Esports Network. It's your Supercar series, and it is here live and uninterrupted at this moment in time. The crucial thing is that qualifying is currently underway here with 8 minutes worth of time, 2 laps to put onto the clock as everybody looks to try and find the best possible time here around this very, very tricky place. My name's Jake Sperry, joined alongside by Nick Skarajev here as we all get ourselves situated, acclimatized to this wonderful, wonderful circuit here today. And well, Nick, you have to say, Okayama, it is one of the basics here when it comes to iRacing. Looking down at where we are, we're up middle high at the moment, just above the old capital, Osaka, Japan, here looking for Okayama, and of course not a million miles away from the Mie Prefecture and the most famous circuit in all of Japan, and that one, of course, being Suzuka. Moving down in, we can see very secluded up into the mountains. Always a nightmare to get cars in and along to race here, but it is built absolutely fantastically with the likes, of course, of the hairpin, which always makes for an easy overtaking place. And, of course, that final section, those final 4 corners, always a chance to go side by side. Nick, every sim racer knows this one, but like the back of their hand.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Jake. It is 3.7 kilometers and 13 turns, so quite a basic circuit. Not too much elevation change, and yeah, quite wide, quite a forgiving circuit. So looking for some really good racing tonight.
And talking about good racing, there are so many drivers here today in order to try and put themselves in the best possible position. We've got 31 here in terms of this, trying to get their times all situated quite nicely here with what is on the board. A short lap around here, meaning that not many people are going to be out there right now setting representative lap times. We get a little look at one of the Logitech G Altus esports cars going through. Madison Down, currently fastest at the moment. Car number 1, no surprise to see him up high in the order. The reigning champion, 1:29.1, currently the quickest. Brady Myers, I believe, is out of laps at this moment in time to go and improve the times on the board, so we'll not be getting any shades of improvement here coming across the line, but you can see just how much of a difference there is. 2.4 seconds over everyone as the Stealth Simforce car of Greg Sharp now looking to go towards the Atwood curve. This is a really key corner to get right.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and kind of harping back to what you were saying before, a lot of these drivers have been getting quite a lot of laps here at Okayama. It's super, super popular across many of the different categories and whatnot, as we're watching Greg Sharp come into that really tight hairpin, but quite flowing. Yeah, quite a nice track to get around.
Absolutely. Up on the power, down the hill into Piper. Such a tough corner to get right, and then you're following it up in through the next left-hand corner and trying to get on the power as early as you can. Little correction there from Greg Sharp here as he has to deal with the oversteer put on power application. Of course, that lock differential not helping things at all. Going through the 2 left and then right hairpins that follow back-to-back. A switchback section before Mike Knight corner, turn number 10 out on track, and that's a dive down into pit lane, and that is just an an example of just how difficult pit lane is, because you've got that really narrow entry, and then you've got to hit the brakes again, and of course you can run it into the tyres, and as such, always run into troubles. Here's Marty Hansen, currently in the Redback Racing Team car, looking to try and get something going. Surprising amount of elevation change here at Okayama.
Yeah, that's right. And just seeing him come out of Adderwood Curve there, you really need to get a really fast. It is almost like it's a double apex, if not nearly a triple apex. You have to come quite wide as you open up the car because it's quite a long straight, and it's quite a good overtaking possibility there.
It certainly is. The timer, though, is going to expire. Everyone who was out on track was just getting their final practices in. So what we're going to do is take you through the starting grid here today at the Okayama circuit here. It's a fantastic place. Go and get some brilliant sim racing action. One of the earlier circuits on the iRacing service. So Madison down then will put the car up on pole position then with a 129.115. Jake Maloney, his teammate alongside for the Trans-Tasman front row. Brady Myers starting third with Andrew Gilliam. They're always a threat in fourth place. Adam Briggs starts fifth, had a little bit of a get-together in the race before this one in terms of officials with Brady Myers. Starts from fifth place with Corey Shepherd in sixth in the fantastic Premier Racing Team car. Jack Widders and Andrew Dyson on row 4. See Steve Jansen with a great qualifying along with Brian Borg, 9th and 10th.
Just missing out on the top 10 there, we've got Kurt Stenberg and Corey Preston. Thomas McMillan in 13th. Damian Johnson, Lee Ellis and Kyle George. Clint Shane Smith, Dylan Rudd, and rounding out the top 20, Paul Di Maria and Kenneth Latter.
Well, we go on to the third page, and there's a lot of drivers to get this one working. Sebastian Tixier there in 21st, 1 second off the pace. Dylan Golson starts alongside him with Greg Sharp and Matthew Deere. Then it's Darren Lobb and Marty Hansen on the 13th row. Daniel Johnson, James Chastanerth there. It's an all-Mustang 14th with Sam Collins and Christian Smart. And maybe looking over one more page for driver number 31, Nicholas Pratt, going from the back of the field. Will need a little bit of help from drivers running into troubles. It's morning here around this place. 95 kilometers worth of racing action. It's 26 laps, and with a 50% fuel tank restriction, it's going to be quite interesting. 27 degrees of track temperature. Expect that to rise as the race goes on. Trans-Tasman 1, Trans-Tasman 2. Let's get ourselves ready then for 26 laps worth of racing action. And there's the green and there's the go as they get themselves underway. It's a slow start in the middle from Brian Borg, getting a not too brilliant start. Corey Preston with a stormer as they dive into turn number 1. Everyone nice and neat for the time being as they all funnel on in. There's Steve Jansen taking a little bit of a wider line, but the front 4-5 drivers all nice and calm. Shepherd being a little bit shuffled at the moment here on the outside, going through the off-camber turn 2 of Williams here as they head through the S's for the first time. Look at Andrew Gilliam diving for the inside. Myers trying to shut the door. It's a bit late for that. Round he's going to go, and into the side of Shepherd ever so slightly, trying to go through. Bang! McMillan takes a cop of him.
Yeah, it looks like it hasn't held up McMillan too much. That is quite a wide corner, so thankfully most of the field managed to get through quite cleanly and to hold it quite tight as they come down the straight into turn number 5 hairpin.
Yep, and just like that, some side-by-side as Adam Briggs now on the outside for the next 2 corners. Big lunge down the inside from Shepherd, but he can carry the outside through this section. This is Andrew Dyson trying to get through, and that's McMillan around again down at the hairpin. There was damage to the front sustained from that one, but crucially, Corey Shepherd now behind Andrew Dyson in that battle side by side. Look at Corey Preston having a wonderful start to this race. Jansen having to defend now on the inside. The long way around looking as Stenny's going to try and find a way through on this as well. Lee Ellis is doing some good progress here from the Trans-Tasman lot, but ultimately, line astern it stays. So they're all fine for the moment, and look at the trains that form as 1 lap in 26 already scored in the books.
Yeah, that's it, Jake. There's a few quite movers and shakers. Lee Ellis, we've just had a few cars head down there, but Andrew Dyson and Jack Widders also up 2 spots on lap 1.
And we've just seen Corey Preston drop a boatload of places out of the final corner there, so that's going to be a little bit of an issue for Corey, having to try and renegotiate a way through the field. He's now stuck behind the AOC-sponsored Premier Racing Team car of Clint Shane Smith. At the front, Madison down, Jake Maloney, 1 second clear almost of the field, but look at Adam Briggs here, right up behind Andrew Gilliam. These 2 stars of the future in waiting as they hope to try and get on moving forward. Cars 6 and cars 4 in the field. Briggs thinking about looking to the inside, falls back into line knowing that he's completely matched on the brakes, but now they've just got to try and just keep on putting the momentum in. Someone we haven't talked about just behind them, Jack Widders in 5th place, had a really, really quiet run to get things going, but up 2 places.
Yeah, excellent work there from Jack Widdowson. As you were saying before, Madison Down and Jake Maloney over a second now, and just seen a bit of smoke there. Just trying to catch who that was
Carl
as we
George.
head to a replay. Yeah, I think it was Kyle George.
Well, we can see here all the issues. That's not Kyle George, that's Sam Collins even at the moment there, who's run into troubles there. So has dropped down to 29th place. It's always difficult at this hairpin. Drivers want to send it down the inside, and oh dear me, that's not what you want to do. Trying to avoid it was Dan Johnson, did everything to try and get to the inside and avoid it. The rear's locked up, and well, that's a case of innocent with a bystand. We're going to look at it right now. Hits the brakes, locks up the rear differential, the rear axle even, and then just tags aside, and Chastanov gets a bit of it as well. And that, of course, is how easy it can all pile up at Okayama when you're so encroached in on each other.
Yeah, thankfully it was one of the slower corners on the track, so quite lucky for a lot of them, especially Chastanov, to get out of that, as we're on board there with Andrew Gilliam and Adam Briggs as they come down the straight.
It's always easy here down the straight to make the wrong move and be very impatient at Okayama. This is the one real straight where you can get a dive down at the inside, so you always are just trying to play that patience card. You look at this track and you look at maybe some Australian tracks that have very similar characteristics to this. You can look at a thing like Newcastle, for example, in the middle sector there. You can look at maybe a place like Townsville and say that you can have a few struggles, but this is going to be always very difficult. A little bit of sideways action as they try and get some rotation through the right-hand corners. This is Darren Lobb looking forward here at the moment at the two vehicles in front. That's Dylan Golson there just in front in 17th, trying to find a way through on the very nice Club Oz NZ machine just in front of Dylan Rudd, who at the moment is just carrying enough momentum, defending this one from the front as he should be, and ultimately making sure that the driver behind has to go out of their way go and make that move. And that's the key around this place, putting your car in the best possible position as Madison Down goes purple once again with the fastest lap of the race at 29.3. But really, this is a track where if you defend the racing line, life is devilly difficult.
Yeah, that's absolutely right as well, but you can see everyone just kind of sitting in at the moment, not getting alongside each other too much, so it might end up getting played out in the pit stops later on.
Certainly could, and that's a very wide pit window. We're expecting to see drivers taking probably around 23 litres. We were getting told from our sources here today, so that's going to be key. Here's the two Trans-Tasman cars then of Kurt Stenberg and Lee Ellis making their way up towards, and well, now down towards the hairpin right now on the brakes. Gravity not helping you at any stage here, trying to slow the vehicle down. You can see the RSW graphics car just behind trying to get close. That's Damien Johnstone in the Gone Rogue Motorsports machine. Always up there knocking on the door of top 10s and hoping for top 5s, hopefully pretty soon. But just playing that patience card are so many drivers. Expect a lot of difference in strategy. I'm expecting, drums in the background. That's someone around as we go through. That's Matthew Deere in the KRF machine in all sorts of hurt.
Yeah, it's pretty unfortunate there for Matthew Deere. We did catch him a few weeks ago doing quite well as we catch the replay here.
We're going to have a look at this then, down the inside in the eye candy car, trying to get close, and that was not quite the eye candy that everyone was thinking about here. Looks okay for the moment, just pushes a little bit too wide, tyres on the grass, and of course, when you're trying to put the power down on the grass in these sorts of vehicles, it's like trying to walk on ice on an ice rink without any skates. You're always going to be in a world of hurt. Fourth and third, still in this battle though at the moment, and they head themselves through the right, but look at what they're able to do. They're just about keeping here with one Mr. Jake Maloney here, 9/10 of a second that gap. Andrew Gilliam has very much got himself hot coals underneath his feet, so to speak.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And as well, just looking at the timing sheet there, Madison Down putting in, I think it was the last lap previous to this, putting in their fastest lap of the race, but seems to be constantly chipping away with that lead now as he's put in over a second now to his teammate Jake Maloney.
He's trying to get that gap and he's trying to get that buffer. You can see just how much everyone's trying to work this one here as Gilliam having to resort to just driving his own race at the moment. Briggs is just looking a little bit impatient behind, hoping that there's going to be a chance maybe later on down the road to get things going. Now, the good news here for Andrew, not for Andrew Gilliam, but for Adam Briggs here, championship leader on points going into this event, is that he is saving all that fuel, and that's going to be key with the strategy. Saving just a little bit around a low fuel usage track gets you so much more.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Adam Briggs in not a bad place to be. He is outside the podium positions at the moment, but being right under that rear wing of that Commodore there of Andrew Gilliam is exactly where you want to be, especially on a track like Okayama.
Well, you can see here from this perspective, a lot of trees here at Okayama and a lot of hills as well as you go on through, but it seems nice and calm for the moment here for Adam Briggs, just trying to get close enough to really make that happen. There's a little bit of a slightly wider line taken there by Andrew Gilliam. He almost tries to rotate the car and slightly diamond off the apex, moving on forward, trying to get close enough to have a little look, but again, not quite there, and it's a case of mirror's image at this stage with the car just behind, because Andrew Dyson and Jack Widders are quite close behind this one as well, as we can see moving up forward. Corey Shepherd just on the back of that as well, as they funnel on through to the mid to late sector of this lap. So it's a case really that we're looking at that drivers are happy to sit in a rhythm, sit behind and play the tactical card here today in this race. We've got some great battles going up and down the field.
Yeah, that's exactly right. With this 26-lap race, it is one of the longer of the sprint races. So, yeah, you really want to just sit in there, chip away, sort out your strategy nice and early, and and count your cards then.
Well, here's Kenneth Latta trying to find a way past Darren Lobb. It seems like all the simrigs.com DPR cars are in a big battle here today as they funnel on towards lap 7 of this event. No real worries at all. You can see how they just space out a little bit. It's always tough in that middle sector to try and keep close behind drivers here as you try and go and work. Because of that really long nose that these vehicles have, they've got to really pack that V8 engine right in on the fronts. It's always going to be a tall order to quite know where to sight your car. That's why drivers do give themselves a little bit more space than they would do other drivers or in other vehicles to go out and really attack in terms of battles.
Yeah, just looking at the timing screen there, yeah, Darren Lobb just a little bit off the pace there, so I do think Kenneth Latta there, there might be a chance he'll get past here on the end of this lap.
But the big issue is the damage on the left-hand side, or actually the right-hand side of the car. That's not helping. There's a fender bender on the rear left going on through. There is Dylan Rudd in 16th place. Some would say that's sweet at the moment. We're going to catch a Motum Simulation replay, though, of a little something right now. So this is Dylan Rudd, who had maybe a little bit more of a gap than he did a little bit prior. So let's see how this one all played out. And it was just a case of all nice and fine going on forward in through the next section. A little bit of a lock-up there, I think, going on through. So that won't be doing the tyre life any good as they move on forward. But back to racing here. Lap 8 they go on to right now as Andrew Gilliam here is under that cosh still, trying to keep Adam Briggs behind, and all of this is just hemorrhaging a 10th here, hemorrhaging a 10th there, and it is one of these small tracks here that you look at really and say, well, where does the time go around this place? You can blink and almost a second can fall away just by being side by side for a couple corners.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And talking about a blink, they are on exactly the same pace at the moment with a 1:30.3. So, yeah, everyone just sitting in. There's not too many moves at the moment as we're just casting my eyes down the timing screen. I know just outside the top 10, it's starting to heat up a little bit with Lee Ellis, Damien Johnson and Brian Borg all within under a second of each other at the moment.
Exactly, you can see that right now. Look to the inside. Oh, Trans-Tasman's going too wide. Lee Ellis trying to desperately hold it up. A bit of a hip check to Kurt Stenberg here as there's a little other look down at the inside. They'll continue to work their fight. John Stone having to sit and be patient there. Can't afford to let Brian Borg have a chance, and that's a good run actually coming out to the Piper's corner. And, well, that's going to have to be half defended. Little look to the inside. Their best attack is best defense is attacking going on through, but all of a sudden, look at how it concertinas up. Brian Borg doesn't know which way to go right now. He's almost at the moment hoping that he's got this chance to maybe go out there and maybe have a little look if people come together. But when you're stuck fourth back in the train, always tough to pick whether you should be aggressive or maybe you should just be patient.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's just a little bit too early at the moment to think of a pits as an option. So Brian Borg staying out there at the moment, he'll have to just sit in, conserve that fuel, and yeah, work on the next few laps.
And those next few laps are going to be key here at the moment as all of the dirt gets kicked up from the gravel track outside of turn 2, part of iRacing's dynamic track system that is in place, that all those tyres running off into the gravel here and there and around the circuit brings it back onto the track and makes life a little bit more slippery for those going through. That was a sideways moment there for Clint Shane Smith a little bit, trying to put the power on coming out there of the Atwood curve. And that's one of the things about the Atwood curve here that we look at here, Nick. You see a corner, it's always about trying to put the power down as early as possible, but you can very easily get the slides on and go expression session on everything right now. But here's Adam Briggs with the first real look that he's had, but nope, gonna sit back, wait, just try and get in the mirrors, force Andrew Gilliam into a mistake. If anyone knows how good Andrew Gilliam is as a driver, well, 2 races at Motorsport that got him his first 2 Scops wins will show you that he can defend better than a lot of drivers.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And just seeing him come through here through 10 and 11, really sweeping corners here. It's great seeing the V8 supercars here on this track as they run nice and wide onto the straight.
Very nice to see. On the brakes, turn 1. Not going to be a real place. It's an open curve, but here's the first taker onto the pits. It's Corey Shepherd then at the end of lap 9, start of lap 10, followed in by Dylan Golson and co at the moment as they dive in. Kenneth Latter deciding to take the early stop as well. Not surprised with the damage that the Exto Gaming car has at that stage. So that shows you the wide window. Lap 13 is normally the halfway stage. We're on lap 10. Gilliam's left the door open. He's run a bit deep. And now here comes Adam Briggs with a chance.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Doesn't need too much of an invite on that with, Gilliam just going that just a little bit too slow out of the corner there as he's lining him up into the hairpin. We'll see how he goes.
Gilliam's actually later on the brakes there into that section, so that's going to be a little cause for concern for Adam Briggs. He's going to have to get right up alongside if he's going to have any opportunity of making this move. Third gear through the left-hand bend, and look at that for correction of oversteer there. Full almost 90 degrees of lock, trying to keep the car pointed in a straight direction, and just about manages it going up the hill and looking around. Now, if I were Adam Briggs, I'm either staying as long as I can, or I'm maybe taking that decision, come down, get the stop done early. You've got to be really narrow going through the Mike Knight corner if you want that stop to be there. But this is going to be forcing that domino effect of everyone next up in the train is going to make a stop, and next up in the train to make a stop. And in comes one of the Trans-Tasman cars that should be Lee Ellis as Johnstone. And Borg, surprisingly, is going to be down in early. Sorry, that's Stenberg down in onto the pit. So that's Brian Borg and co. all looking to come in. Andrew Dyson, one of the first real takers onto the pits alongside as well. So that's going to be key. And where Corey Shepherd comes out in all of this, the mid-pack reacting to Shepherd.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I was just catching some of those live images there. Brian Borg pulling in a heap of time there coming into that pit entry.
Yeah, and that's the key around this place. It's such a narrow pit entry in that the line actually comes incredibly late in terms of the pit entry cycle, that there is a lot of time to be gained. Go on through as we look at Andrew Gilliam here from behind, trying to get on through as everyone looks to make their stop, get out, get away again. Here on the brakes again, you can see how Adam Briggs is just not able to get into an opportunistic range to go and send one down the inside. Now there's damage on the exit. Andrew Dyson's out on the way, but who on earth is that? It looks like one of the cars that are not having a good day. That's Sebastian Tixier. You're absolutely right. It is Tixier.
Yeah, so Tixier, I believe, must have just had an accident recently because he's coming up there. But yeah, a bit of a shame there. I think he might be right down the order at the moment.
Certainly is, 20th position and yet to make the stop. So Sebastian Tixier's had a huge moment out on circuit, one that we haven't been privy to over the course of racing action so far. Your leading four will still stay out then at the moment as we do have battles up and down the order. This is James Chasseneuth and Christian Smart at the moment. The Bing Construct car at the moment here trying to get through and not going to be taking the pits then is the Gone Rogue Christian Smart driver at this stage. But look at this, Piccadilly Circus down on the lane. Lee Ellis has to come in, so does Johnstone, so does Kyle George in the United car. Preston in, Rudd in, everybody in the mid-pack.
Yeah, that's it. It looks like everyone was kind of waiting out to see. It does look like Yeah, a lot of them are in at the moment. Andrew Dyson's still sticking it out there at the moment.
Yeah, a lot of drivers sticking out, hoping that they've got exactly what they need. There is Andrew Dyson. Look at the battling behind. Tixier under pressure. Corey Shepherd's lost a little bit of time here at the moment, and they're also dealing with the fact they've got Johnson in front, who, of course, in that yellow Mustang has run into troubles already today. Big slide there with a less aero dependency on the front. The wake, the splitter not really working well there for Tixier going on through, but here's the little look down on the inside, and you're not going to really argue with this one. It's not going to be a case of you can really argue against that. It looks more banger than Supercar at this stage for Tixier, and he loses the place.
Yeah, that's it. You could definitely see that Corey Shepherd had quite a lot more pace, especially at the start of the race as well. So, yeah, good pass there by Corey Shepherd.
And he's also through on Daniel Johnson, so that's 2 for the price of 1. Clint Shane Smith out just behind Damian Johnstone here, who's made a good stop here in the middle of the pack now. First taker of your real leaders here is going to be Jake Maloney and Adam Briggs, making the calls to come down in at the halfway stage. Now, this is really going to set in the domino effect here, because likes of Madison Down's going to have to make that stop. Sam Collins has been there a very long time on the lane. I think he may have been caught for speeding. In comes also Paul Di Maria in to make a stop. We haven't seen much of Paul at the moment, but we'll be looking to try and get that one working very, very quickly. Is a lot of drivers now making that push and that progress. Out comes Jake Maloney, and crucially, look at that clean air.
Yeah, it's absolutely worked to a T. Really getting that clean air in now. So, yeah, coming back on the track in 9th position.
In 9th place, so there's a handful of drivers yet to come in. Chris Smart, James Chastanoff, Marty Hansen, Darren Lobb, Janssen, Widders, Gilliam and Cohen. Here's Nicholas Pratt in the middle of all of this train right now as we get that big traffic hold up at this stage. Drivers who have pitted against drivers who haven't pitted. Fresh tyres against old tyres. They head through the Sterling Moss S and now over towards the next right-hand bend of the Atwood curve as they move on up the hill. And there is Johnstone down the inside, and you're not going to argue against those. That's easy. And look at this. Just open up the door and go on through. No surprises that Madsen Down's going to come down in and make a stop. And Andrew Gilliam very aggressively will follow.
Yeah, so that's the leaders coming in now. So that might end up leaving Jack Widders and Steve Jansen still out on circuit. So we'll see if they come in for a stop as we see a few cars come through that hairpin now. Seeing that almost the lap traffic come through and letting those faster cars through.
Yeah, absolutely, and you can see this right now as they dive down onto the lane. Jack Widders is in, also others in. Chastanoff is going to stay out then, and effectively we'll try and get the race lead. Motor Simulation Replay, we'll see how it all kicks off afterwards, but you can see there's some side-by-side between Chastanoff and, of course, one Mr. Christian Smart. They head up the hill, and this is the key right now. Chastanoff almost half blocking there on the inside, and that was a decision from Smart to take that line, go down in. Now, where has Madison Down come out in all of this? You can see this right now. He's lost the race lead on the undercuts. So he's got work to do to get back through on Jake Maloney. Trans-Tasman cars always fight. And look at Andrew Gilliam. He has worked wonders in that stop. He stays ahead of Adam Briggs for the time being. But Chastanoff right now could be the pick for Madison Down.
Yeah, so Chastanoff will almost be like a sitting duck. So 0.4 of a second Maloney to Chastanoff. So I do see with the better tyres there of Jake Maloney, he will reel him in pretty quickly there.
You can see on the inside going on through Chastanoff taking that outside parabola and now maybe has a nose to the inside. He's thinking about fighting it, but he's a little earlier on the brake. So now Madison Down's got to get by pretty quickly around the Banter Alliance Ford here, trying to get on through. Looks for the inside. You're going to have to be brave here, Madison. Send one down the inside. There's no other way about it. And a wide berth being given. Briggsy looking for the inside as well. And he's not going to get there on one Mr. Andrew Gilliam. So that one doesn't quite work out in terms of that scenario. But suddenly, it seems like there's work. In comes Chastanoff to make the stop. But Darren Lobb, Marty Hansen out there at the moment, all still running well. And now look at this here. Jack Widders under pressure. It's been a good stop cycle for Lee Ellis and Steve Jansen. Not so much for Jack Widders.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And also another big loser out of that stop strategy. So Madison Down losing about 1.3 seconds. So not that much to Jake Maloney, but it's actually cost him the race lead. So Madison Down might be a little bit shaken after that, but I reckon he'll have that pace to pull that time back in on his Trans-Tasman teammate.
Exactly, and that's the key, trying to get it back side by side to go in towards turn number 1. There's Dylan Rudd. There is, I believe, Kenneth Latter. Yes, and of course you've got another driver trying to get into the mix. That's Dylan Golson trying to hold on to it right now and just about manages to do so in this stage. Now look at Adam Briggs, 0.2 of a second, makes a big pivot to the inside, but was he too aggressive there with the steering angle? Didn't give himself maybe enough of a run to dive that one down on the inside. So again, Adam Briggs playing the waiting game. He's had this same old story. He's been staring at the back of that car, and he may as well be getting a subscription to MXTV at this stage if he's going to keep seeing that sponsor that he's got to look at.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And Andrew Gilliam, I reckon he spent most of this race looking in his rearview mirror, seeing that front bar there of Adam Briggs. So, yeah, a great battle that seems to be lasting most of this race at the moment, Jake.
Exactly, we're over half distance right now. They have themselves 11 laps to go when they cross the line. Jake Maloney in control here at the front of the field. Madison down 1.1 seconds back. Had a poor outlap on the tyres, trying to get them up to speed. And that really cost him in terms of this one at the moment. He's going to have to try and work to get them back. In terms of gainers, you've got Andrew Dyson now into 5th. Shepard 6th. Widders back down into 7th. And then Lee Ellis and co in 8th place. And look at this train. It goes all the way back. It certainly does, past Kyle George as they go on through. They're right at the back of the train. So a lot of work to be done in that battle from 7th over to 14th. But you can see everyone just picking up their own mini scrap. And it's all of these results that really make the big difference.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And also one of the big movers, Lee Ellis, as you mentioned before. Great mover there with 7 places up as we're on board with Christian Smart looking at James Chasnov. This double left hand, just coming out of those S's there. It's a really high speed corner as you almost feather the throttle there over that hill as they come down into Atterwood Curve.
Exactly, and that Atwood curve is going to be so crucial for setting up this run. James Chasnov taking the wider line, going through that section, trying to maybe ease onto the power a little bit better. But there is the Gonro car, thinking of the inside. This is going to be late on the brakes, and you can see they are dead level as they go on through the big wide line through that section, and Chasnov has to yield there. That's a good move from Christian Smart. Up one more place, but look at the front. Madison Downs lost another second here out on track and is starting to fall backwards into the clutches of Gilliam and Briggs at the moment here. And it seems that whatever's gone on in that stop, it's not worked for Madison Downs. Just the rhythm has completely been sapped.
Yeah, it's even just looking at the last lap, not too much. Oh, actually, no, sorry, over a second. So Jake Maloney possibly might have been a little mistake there on that last lap from Madison Downs. So bit unsure what's going on there, but Jake Maloney's really holding the pace now. Seems to be only one of the few drivers at the moment just dipping into that 1:29.
And looking at it from Madison Downs' perspective, it didn't look like much. Just got maybe a slight slowdown penalty or something coming out of the Piper corner because there was no power application off the exit. Here's Lee Ellis and Steve Janssen, though, having this good little work for 8th and 9th. Widders started to try and stretch the legs, and they are starting to elongate the pack here at the moment as they go on through. Janssen always knocking in and about here with good results on the brakes. Has to really check it up there through the hairpin, but not quite able to get there right now. If you're brave on the final couple of laps, you can send one down the inside, that left-hander, if you're really going to try and go out for it as they pass the pit building on the right-hand side. But again, not quite there, and that's the key here for a lot of these battles in the field, that it's been a case of just sitting behind, hoping for a mistake, but almost like a street circuit, you're waiting for your opponent to mess up more rather than you to force the issue.
Yeah, that's right. And talking brave, Steve Janssen is definitely a brave one. He's quite aggressive with some of his moves, but just outside that gap at the moment to get it done.
And that's the key. You've got to be in that range, and it's not working at the moment for Steve Janssen in 9th, trying to get there. Gap is starting to come down, though, from Madison down to 1.9 seconds. It finds itself. So that's 3/10 being chopped off the board over the last lap or so that we have seen. We've got 9 laps remaining here in this one, and taking 3/10 here and 3/10 there, that will be enough to maybe launch an offensive later on here in this race. Question becomes as well from Jake Maloney, who had a really nice stop. How much is he going to have to fuel save here in the latter stages of this race? He wasn't necessarily within 1 second. He did have the shortest stop of anybody here, so Maloney is really going to have to try and siphon off a little bit of fuel through every corner and lift and coast.
Yeah, potentially, but he also did hold that draft there on Madison down at the start, but then again, it did extend over for just over a second for a lot of it. So, yeah, it's he might, yeah, just in the later stages, he might have to lay off that throttle a little bit.
And that's going to be the worry. One of the things as well to note is that it is downhill to the finish. So even if he does run himself a little bit low, he does have that ability to use gravity to an advantage to get over the line and score some points. Remember, iRacing on the line as well as driver's safety rating here. A lot of drivers know this is a C-Class series. A lot of them have B-Class, A-Class licenses, but they know that every time they step off the track, they get an incident point. And part of knowing how well you can race against a different driver is sometimes looking at the safety rating and going, well, if you're a C-Class driver, maybe you're not as clean as, say, someone who's got an A-Class license.
Yeah, that's it. And you'd be surprised with this track as well that you can rack up those runoffs there, and some of those corners there are the rumble strips are quite narrow as well, as we've seen a few drivers early on getting a few spins and stuff as we're on board here with Madison down.
Yep, we certainly are trying to chase down the gap to 1.7 seconds at the moment as they head up the rise and down the hill towards the hairpin right now. Spot your marker on the left-hand side and really get nice and close to the inside. And a lot of drivers try and pick up as much as they can through these sorts of sections and really get aggressive through the mid-pass. And sometimes it can come back to bite you. You think you can always hold the power down, but sometimes it is a little bit more of a struggle through this section as every driver now started to get what they want. Andrew Gilliam actually is getting what he wants right now. He has worked hard over this stint and has brought that gap up to now 0.8 of a second. It did come down through that last corner, but he is working hard to shake off Adam Briggs.
Yeah, it's great work there by Gilliam. That consistency has really, really paid off there. So, yeah, Adam Briggs just on that last lap. They're just crossing the line now, but yeah, Briggs is about half a second there off the back of Gilliam. So it's just giving him that gap, and he's just going to be nearly outside that draft now.
And that draft's going to be key here as we look at Lee Ellis, Steve Jansen and co. behind Jack Widders. Unable to shake is Jack Widders at the moment. The drivers behind want to shake and bake their way down the inside and hope that they've got an opportunity to get that one all sorted out. But again, time is starting to trickle away here. You don't get many opportunities at Okayama if you're stuck in a pack. You have to make sure that you're maximising every corner. You're planning out your moves here. You've almost got to play a bit of tactical espionage, some would say at this stage, because you're trying to force your opponent to make the move they least want to do, and especially the move they least want to do late so they can't counteract it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I was just casting my eyes over the timing screen again. So Lee Ellis in this bunch here that we're looking at is the only driver that can seem to dip down into that 1:30 at the moment. So Lee Ellis, 7 spots up. I think that he'll be right on the back there of Jack Widders.
Side by side, Darren Lobb trying to find a way through on Dylan Golson. There in the back is Marty Hansen, one of the last takers into the lane, so we'll have the freshest tyres of anybody here, but wide goes Golson. This will give Hansen a chance on the outside into the next left-hander, but Marty backs out of it then, looks for a better chance maybe through the left of Piper and run it up through the Redmond corner potentially, so not quite close enough. Was just backing out with Marty Hansen and stays on the back of the pack. But here's some side-by-side. Corey Preston's found a way through then on Dylan Rudd for 16th place. How sweet in terms of the recovery there, but working all nicely as Steve Jansen right now. Again, looking for a way through. Again, 0.4, 0.3 of a second. You've got to be within 2.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It just seemed to be chipping away here as we're catching up with Jake Maloney. So Madison down, bringing that gap down to about 1.5 seconds, but yeah, it's just not close enough, and we've only got a few more laps now left to go, so he really need to put that pace in if he wants to catch to the back of him.
It's got to be 0.3 a lap for Madison down, you'd feel, to go and make that one work. So Steve Jansen there, 9th position, working on the wheel, trying to get the power down as they go up through. It's quite bumpy, this circuit, so you get a lot of feel through the force feedback as you run on through every section. This car, of course, has a lot of leeway with that sort of thing. On the brakes into the hairpin once again. And again, it's just that waiting game. You sit, you wait, you hope, you look, and you can't find. Brian Borg, though, side by side with Clint Shane Smith, just behind it seemed for the time being. And look at this down the hill. That is Borg getting put one over by his own teammate.
Yeah, that's right. And we haven't seen too much tonight of Clint Shane Smith and Brian Borg just outside that top 10 at the moment, but some really good battles happening there. Uh, yeah, Clint Shane Smith up 5 positions, Brian Borg down 3. So, yeah, there's a few little changes here and there.
And it happened so very, very quickly around this. Gap down 1.3 seconds now. 5 laps to go here for one Mr. Madison down, the 10-time champion here in officials here at the moment, with Maloney, his teammate, just in front, doing exactly what's needed here, leading the train home. Now, there will be a lot of memories going back to what happened just a week or so ago with what went on in Scops between Madison Down and Richard Hampstead. They do like to battle again. They have built that gap, but Madison's got to get there first if he's going to chase down Jake Maloney, and he knows better than anybody else to get past Jake Maloney, you're going to have a very tall order of things. They get 1.2 now as they go on through. At the moment, it's working. Madison's just chipping off a 10th. Very much like, say, someone who's trying to work on a marble statue.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's one thing to pull that gap down to Jake Maloney, but it's going to be another thing to get around him as well. So Jake Maloney, really hard to overtake. So Madison Down's definitely got a big job ahead of him.
Certainly does. Brian Borg thinks that he's not done with Clint Shane Smith. The two very, very equal in terms of pace, but the Premier Racing team at the moment, they are in no position to change their places right now out on track. They are sitting 12th and 13th. Here's something interesting though. Adam Briggs quietly getting onto the back of Andrew Gilliam again. It's almost easing up the dial on the pressure cooker and hoping that something bursts at this stage. Gilliam third, Briggs in fourth. Work to be done here in this battle with what is going to be 4 laps. Try and find the one magic formula.
Yeah, that's it. And Adam Briggs might maybe have a little bit more left in the tank there. The stops were pretty similar at the moment. So, yeah, really unfortunate there for Andrew Gilliam. He probably thought that was the last that he saw of Adam Briggs, but just pulling him in just over that half a tenth at the moment as they head down the back straight.
Well, it's that half a tenth that's going to be so very, very vital to find. The gap is symbolic right now at the front. It comes under a second for the first time since the pit stop window. So now Madison Down has to start thinking about this, trying to size up Jake Maloney's search. Where is Maloney weak? Where is he going to be making that car as wide as possible in the Holden? So it's going to be a case of waiting at this stage, but 3 laps will come up, and look at this. Back down the inside, Brian Borg says, no, I'm the quicker teammate. No, I go ahead.
Yeah, that's great work there by Brian Borg getting that move done as we're just catching Madison Down was just dipped under that 9/10 of a second now as they just come over that start-finish straight. Only a few more laps now.
3 laps to go.
Starting to run out of time, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, and this is the key. It's got to be 3/10 every lap and then find a move on the last lap. So it's got to be a real tall order here for Madison Down to get this gap all closed in. It has the advantage of the draft, but here at this circuit, the draft isn't as strong as other places. So that's always going to make life difficult. And once you get into a range, you do still get some dirty air, some vortices, some turbulences that makes life tough. There's a bit of traffic, though, down the road, and that could be something to look at. Potentially Johnson could be the pick that is so very desperately looked at here for Madison Down. And we know that he wants to be brave and he wants to be aggressive, but we know also that the fuel numbers are going to be worth keeping in mind for Jake Maloney, who is just starting to fall on back down the hill. Still 0.8 of a second, though, the gap, and that's enough here at this stage, you feel, for Maloney just to play with slightly.
Yeah, that's it. It does look like Maloney does have that little bit of time up his sleeve. So as we just see the clock come down under 0.8 of a second now, but yeah, feeling for Madison Down, it might just be a little bit too little too late at the moment.
You certainly do, but you never know what's going to happen. You can always give it the old college try like Max Verstappen did yesterday at the British Grand Prix. So who's going to find exactly what's wanted here at the moment? First, second, third and fourth, all in their own little battles. Andrew Dyson's got 1 second over Corey Shepherd right now. That's 5th and 6th for the time being as they hit the brakes into turn number 1. Your leading pair do, with only a couple of laps remaining here. It's going to be about who can find that one little thing that works. You can see how everyone has formed into their own little groups, their own little gaps at the moment, fighting for every final position they can get their hands on.
Yeah, it is the closing stages now. Oh, it's actually just a couple of tenths again from that lead from Jake Maloney to Madison Down. So Madison definitely having the pace there of the two Trans-Tasman cars.
6.5 tenths down to 6 tenths on the brakes. Trying to get as close as possible, running out of time though. This is going to have to be something very brave from Madison Down to find what is needed. Little slide there going on through, but Maloney using all of the grip of the tyre wall to gain a little bit through this section where Madison Down maybe struggled, but Madison brings the gap down again. Now it's 5.8 in terms, or 0.58 at this stage in terms of tenths of a second right now. Comes up though through the through the Redmond corner, and now through the next right. This is a case where they're trading in terms of their pace time and time again. The last lap will be coming up, the white flag on the system, and this quick section always favors the car in front. So what can Madison do? Try and really chase this down. 6.5 tenths on the last lap is a tall order, but this is where you go and make yourself known right now. Through turn number 1, looks Madison Down, and he's got to try and really set up these opening corners and gain through this section. This is the place where he has to go and be aggressive right now, and he knows that Jake Maloney has struggled a little bit here. Look at that for a turn 2. Gap down to 4 tenths of a second. Traffic on the horizon as they hit the brakes, and now all of a sudden Madison is searching and searching and searching for that pace. Nice and narrow on the exit, down to 3 tenths of a second. This is going to have to be brave here as they go on through. This was a great run out of that corner. 3.1 tenths of a second now as they go on through. And is this a lunge for the inside? No, not quite there. Well defended, well scouted going on through. Now this is going to have to be unorthodox here from Madison Downs. He follows through this section now, through the left-hand bends that come up. Piper's corner now, and through the revolver. And this is going to be crucial. Can you send one deep up the inside? Little wiggle on the curb on the exit there from Madison Down. And that could have been the one thing that cost as he tries to find that one small mistake out of his teammate. Looks narrow. Can't quite get there, though. Trying to get in the mirrors. Trying to find a mistake. 2 corners remain. It's almost flat through this section, through the left, or the 2 right-handers to finish the lap. But Jake Maloney, the fuel, seemingly fine. The traffic dives down onto pits to get out of the way of it. But what a race for Jake Maloney. Out masterminding the master, the 10-time champion.
That's absolutely awesome there. Work by Trans-Tasman with that 1-2 Jake Maloney to Madison Down, as we just see Andrew Gilliam just holding off there on Adam Briggs there. So great work there for Andrew Gilliam to nail that podium position.
Well, it seems like Jack Willis was very happy with that result, as was Damien Johnstone, going all the way to the flag, saying, hey, look, we finished this one out and overall, as everyone starts to funnel their way over the start-finish line and get their results in the tank as they move on forward. That's Preston finishing behind Latter. Look at the train as they come over to the end of that race there. So brilliant, brilliant work. And in fact, maybe Kenneth Latter was running a little short on fuel and got beaten on the line there as they went on over. So that was not quite ideal as they changed positions. And there is Sebastian Tixier's inverted commas car at the moment trying to get over towards the line. It doesn't look much like a car at the moment. At least there's good engine cooling though on the front. I'm surprised that the engine's actually stayed in block mount. The fact that it's getting over the line. So Sebastian Tixier gets over the line. Last finishes on the leading lap. Confirmation of results. They are official here around this place, despite the graphic saying unofficial. Jake Maloney wins then for a Commodore 1-2-3, Trans-Tasman 1-2 with Madison Down in second, and Andrew Gilliam picking up the Mustang to 4th, 5th, and 6th. Adam Briggs couldn't get close enough to Andrew Gilliam all race long. Andrew Dyson, his teammate for DPR and the Simrigs.com DPR team there in 5th. Corey Shepherd, a very quiet 6th, the first taker onto the lane. Jack Widders gets 7th place. We'll be happy with that one, with Lee Ellis coming home in 8th position. Steve Janssen, a very respectable 9th place drive. Kurt Stenberg staying quiet, out of the wars. Quiet run for him in 10th.
Just missing out on the top 10 there, Damien Johnson, Brian Borg and teammate Clint Shane Smith. Cole George having a pretty quiet time there in 14th place. Corey Preston, Kenneth Latta, Dylan Rudd in 17th, Darren Lobb in 18th, Dylan Golson and Marty Hansen rounding out the top 20.
And then we start to see those who are a little bit further down, a lap down or otherwise. There's Greg Sharp in the Penrite Stealth Simforce car, 21st. Christian Smart, James Chastenerth, 22nd and 23rd. Paul Di Maria is 24th position, with Sebastian Tixier driving a, quote, car home in 25th. Nicholas Pratt, the last finisher on the lead lap, in 26th place, with Daniel Johnson falling a lap down after issues earlier on. And then we hit the retirement. Sam Collins, 4 laps down. Matthew Deere ran into quite a few troubles. And then what happened on the opening laps for Brady Myers and Thomas McMillan, not finishing the race, going 1 and 2 laps respectively, with all of the damage that they both had. Not ideal for them, but train keeps on rolling. There'll be more action next week, and there'll be a bumper crop of action when it comes to this vehicle come the weekend. We have got ourselves the Phillip Island 500 for Scop's Enduro season start. And that is going to promise to be an absolutely sensational bit of racing action that you are going to find. On top of that, Monday nights we'll be heading to Phillip Island for a 30-minute sprint. It's going to be worth the wait and worth the watch as well. If you haven't already, like, share, subscribe on the iRacing Esports Network, not just for us at SimSpeed TV, but for all our partners, RaceBot TV, the likes of Apex Racing TV, the Global Sim Racing Channel, Podium Esports, and LSR TV as well. It's been a massive, massive joy to cover this series again. And of course, from Jay Kennedy behind the cameras, from Modem Simulations, who have helped sponsor the replays, and of course, from Nick Skarajev alongside me. I've been Jake Sperry, and Jake Maloney puts one over on his teammate, the 10-time and reigning champion, Madison Down. That was what was needed to really put a little bit of focus, with endurances on the horizon, with sprints looking here in this championship. Well, the place to go is Cows Victoria. We'll see you very, very soon at Phillip Island.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going in the outside, both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my god! Oh, big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?